In my GLP-1 health journey, I've never believed that the scale tells a whole story. Today I'm sharing 7 things that I'm paying attention to after my first month in maintenance that are helping me in my goal to train for my old age. If you're on a GLP-1 and you're focused not just on losing weight, but also improving your health and longevity, hopefully you can get some inspiration or some ideas for your own journey. The last one is weirdly vague, and the one right before that is weirdly specific, but I think it'll all make sense to you. Okay, let's go. If you're new here, hi, I'm Bobby. I am not a medical doctor and I am a therapist, but I am not your therapist. So none of this is medical or mental health advice. I'm just sharing my personal experience and things that are helpful for me. Always talk to your own healthcare providers when you're making decisions for yourself. I'm someone who didn't really struggle with her weight before menopause. There were times when I needed to lose a little bit of weight and I was able to do it. But after menopause, no matter what I did, the weight just kept creeping on. And it wasn't until I started a GLP-1 about 18 months ago that I was able to lose weight at a healthy pace. And after 18 months, I'm in maintenance. I recently finished my first month in maintenance. The other thing that really helped after menopause is that I am on hormone replacement therapy, and I have been for a few years. That was really helpful, not for the weight, but for helping my joints and my recovery so that I could be as active as I wanted to be without like getting hurt all the time. So it's really helped my health a lot. I also don't pee my pants anymore. Bonus. I am at a healthy weight for my body and all my health markers are in a healthy range because they were elevated and just going in the wrong direction before GLP-1s, and now they're all fine. I just took my, I can't remember the number. I'll put it up here on the screen of what number of shot I just took. I used the app called Shotzi, and so I can look it up. So I've taken that many weekly GLP-1 shots. I'm currently on 10 milligrams of Zepbound, and that dose continues to work really well for me in maintenance. Guys, I hear you in the comments. Why didn't I lower my dose when I started maintenance? This is working for me. I went up in dose, I don't know, several months ago because the food noise had come back. So I don't want to go down in dose and have the food noise come back. And I've been able to maintain my weight. This is very individual. I'm open to the idea of microdosing, decreasing my dose if I decide to in the future, spacing my shots apart, all those things. I'm open to them, but I haven't done that yet. And so many people are questioning me in the comments about why I kept my dose the same for maintenance. I always try sort of the smallest change first and see if that works and then adjust as necessary. And so the smallest change for me was to not do anything with my meds and just try to eat a little more. And I don't know, so far so good. It's been 5 weeks and my weight stayed the same. So I'm doing all these things to be healthy and basically train for my old age. I'm strength training. I'm into backpacking right now, so I'm doing a lot of hiking with a backpack on and rucking. I'm eating a mostly whole foods diet, making sure to get enough sleep, prioritizing protein, all the things, because I want to be healthy and active as long as I can. I'm going to be 58 in a couple months, and all these things that I'm doing for my health, it could get really overwhelming because there's so many different things you could track. So I've kind of boiled it down today to 7 things that I am keeping track of, so that I feel like, am I moving the needle towards maintaining my health, even improving my health, improving my strength? I'm starting with my weight, and that might surprise you, because if you've seen any of my episodes, I'm always talking about how the number on the scale is not the whole story. And it's not, but it's also not a number that I'm going to ignore. It's pretty helpful feedback. I think where I can get caught up and where so many people can get caught up is that it's helpful feedback over a long period of time, but day-to-day weighings doesn't tend to be that helpful because our weight varies so much just depending on, how hydrated we are, how much salt we've eaten, our hormones, our digestion. It's just not unusual for our weight to fluctuate several pounds from day to day. The way I've been managing that is really just to weigh myself once or twice a week and then try to look at the long-term trends over time. Today I might weigh more than yesterday. That's no cause for alarm. I think it's very much a diet culture thing to attach meaning to weight every day. And I just really wanted to get away from that. But like I said, the long-term trend of weight over time is pretty informative. And then something that fills in part of the picture that weight misses, and this one won't surprise you if you know me, it's body composition. Looking at my body fat percentage, my lean mass, my visceral fat, that can tell me, am I losing mostly fat? And now that I'm not in weight loss mode, those numbers can tell me if I'm maintaining or increasing my muscle. Last week, I shared the body composition info on my first month of maintenance, so I'm not going to go over it all here, but I'll link to that video. You can see small changes in a month, a percentage point here and there. And when the trends of those percentage points are going in the right direction or staying where I want them, then I know that what I'm doing in my daily life is keeping me on track. I used to stress a lot more about the lean mass I was losing, and I just don't now. And I hope you don't either. If you are on a weight loss journey and you're losing fat, you will lose some lean mass. And the way to minimize how much you lose is by doing the strength training and getting enough protein. But that lean body mass will decrease as your weight decreases because you're carrying around less water, less blood, you're carrying around less weight. So data like my weight and my body composition are kind of slow-moving markers that I track over time to see what's changing over weeks and months. And then there are also things that I'm kind of looking at on a daily basis. And one that I'm particularly interested in right now is tracking my recovery. And why is recovery so important? Well, it's where really the magic happens. Exercise kind of breaks our body down and tells our body, ooh, we have to get stronger so that we can do this. And then during recovery is when our muscles and our body actually get stronger. Sleep quality, nutrition, time spent resting, those are all things that support recovery. It's at rest when your body can repair muscle tissue, replenish your energy stores, and just adapt so that the next time you do that workout, it'll be a little easier. And if you don't give your body enough time to recover, you're stacking stress on top of stress, and that can lead to not getting stronger and feeling really tired, even suppressing your immune system and maybe getting sick. That has happened to me before. And it can just stall your progress, make you more at risk of injury. Recovery is even more important as we get older. It takes a little longer now to recover. There's been a shift in recent months for me. My activity has changed with my backpacking obsession, and I've had to focus on recovery a lot more. Training for backpacking trips involves taking longer hikes than I used to take and carrying more weight on my back than I used to carry, and more intense strength routines to get me ready for hiking in the mountains. It takes a lot out of me, but I love it. When I was working out, just spending 45 minutes several times a week at the gym and taking walks, recovery just happened automatically in my sleep and eating and, not working out the same muscle group in consecutive days. Like, that was all I needed to do for recovery. And it's different now that I'm doing things that kind of wear my body down. If I hike 10 miles with 25 pounds on my back, I need some time to recover. I'm not at the point yet where that's just like an easy thing for me and I bounce back from it right away. Maybe someday. So recovery has become part of my training plan. I've been using the new Hume Band 2.0 for the past couple weeks. The new version literally just came out, and this is helping me with recovery because every week I can check my health report, which gives me an overall health score along with my biological age. It's interesting because it updates based on how I've actually been living that week, the things I was just talking about, like sleep, activity, recovery. And I can also look at the metabolic momentum, which is like a readiness score, which shows kind of if my habits are adding or subtracting to my long-term health, including days of life added, which I think is a really fun way to look at it. It's like a good reminder that the little things I do every day really do add up. And the readiness score I can use to help inform me, is it a good day for me to take a really long hike with a heavy backpack, or should I take a shorter walk with less weight? If you'd like to check out the Hume Band 2.0, there's a link in my description. I have a code for 20% off. Just use Bobby20. It expires in 7 days. And if you're in the US, it's also FSA and HSA eligible. So I've been talking about this in terms of how long of a hiking trip I should go on, but I also think about it in terms of how heavy should I lift. And that's the next thing that I'm looking at after recovery is strength. This is one of the more rewarding things for me to track because it's not just the numbers on a screen, it's also experiential. Like when I started out rucking, I rucked with a 10-pound backpack, and now I'm up to 25 pounds. And I started out doing 2, 3, 4 miles, and now I'm up to 8, 9, 10 miles. And I've seen similar gains in lifting weights at the gym, the height of the step that I use for doing step-ups. So it's not information overload for me to look at my strength as a health indicator. Instead, it's actually really fun to track like, oh, I could, add 5 pounds to that exercise or whatever. And I also want to note, I'm talking about strength a lot, but this also includes endurance. Like being able to walk and hike farther is telling me that my cardiovascular endurance is a lot better. And that's great. But at this stage of my life, I'm particularly focused on strength because maintaining and building strength just becomes more and more important the older we get. It doesn't just support things like my backpacking activities. It's for things like balance, fall prevention, bone density, just staying independent and active as I age. If you're enjoying this, please feel free to hit like and subscribe. It helps the channel and it helps the YouTube algorithm show it to people who are looking for this kind of content. Thanks. I also have an email newsletter. I will not flood your inbox. I send an email every 2 weeks. And newsletter sounds like it might be journalism, like journalism about GLP-1, and that's not what it is. It's a personal newsletter about updates that didn't make it into YouTube videos and things like that. Also, when you sign up, the first email you get includes my protein smoothie recipe. A quick shout out to my wonderful email subscribers. Thank you for your kind words. I was writing in a newsletter recently about dealing with negative comments as a YouTuber. I never thought they'd bother me until they happened to me. The community, for the most part, in the comment section and in my email list is so positive and wonderful. So thank you. Okay, I haven't talked at all yet about food, and there are a million things you can track about food. And I don't track them all. For what I eat in the day videos and stuff, I'll usually list all the macros and the fiber. But honestly, in my day-to-day life, I don't do that. I keep an eye on my protein and my fiber, and the rest just kind of falls into place. Getting enough protein is to help preserve muscle and build muscle, and getting enough fiber is so crucial for good gut health. So I want to make sure those are taken care of. I read a research article recently that made me feel so much better about my protein intake, because throughout my GLP-1 journey in weight loss and now in maintenance, I just told myself, hit 100 grams of protein a day and you're good. And I was never really sure if it was good enough because I know there are people who eat so much more. I've tried to eat so much more protein in the past. So this research article, here's the reassuring part. There is now really strong scientific support for the idea that eating more than 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of ideal body weight doesn't add any value for building muscles or doing the kind of recovery work that protein helps us do. That 1.6 figure is further broken down to 1.2 to 1.8 depending on your age and your goals. So, a young athlete is going to have different protein needs than an older, moderately active adult. I'm setting mine at 1.6, and that comes out to anything more than 116 grams of protein a day doesn't further my goals to build muscle or build strength or recover adequately from workouts. The other thing this research shows is that distributing the protein throughout the day is important, and progressive resistance training is important. I kind of already knew that part about resistance training, but I'm including it here to be thorough. Everything else beyond those basics just represents fine-tuning instead of major health gains. I'm going to put a link in the description to a comprehensive review of this research. It's a lot easier read than the original article, but I'm pretty sure if you want to read the original article, you can link to it from the link that I'm including. A little bit of a caveat here. One of the reasons that I think I can get away with just tracking my protein and my fiber is that even before I was on a GLP-1, I had established some pretty solid habits around eating a lot of fruits and vegetables and staying hydrated. And I know that that's not everyone's reality. So just tracking protein and fiber might not be enough for you if you're struggling to get enough water, or if you're not used to eating a lot of vegetables. You might want to add these different things in. Those are really important things for longevity. So I feel kind of lucky that I did a lot of the leg work around making sure that it was a pretty ingrained habit to eat lots of produce, drink lots of water earlier in my life. This was like when I was cycling and jogging more. So I wanted to mention it here that I am not suggesting that all anyone needs to track is protein and fiber. I'm just saying that's all that I track, and it is working for me 90% of the time. Hi, from Editing Bobby. You'll notice I don't talk about calories in this episode. On a day-to-day basis, I'm not tracking calories. I do add them up whenever I make a food video. So I would say, once a month, twice a month, it's a really good sort of self-audit to make sure that I'm in the ballpark for eating what I need to be eating. But on a day-to-day basis, I'm just done counting calories. Okay, here's the weirdly specific thing that I'm keeping track of. It is my waist circumference, which seems strange if you know that I have a real block about taking body measurements. But I learned that of all the body measurements, the one that is most valuable because it's tied to health indicators is your waist circumference. And I've been getting my body measurements not by taking them myself because, I don't know, I just hate to do that, but by using this body scanning app called Me360. The research right now indicates that a waist measurement greater than 35 inches for women and greater than 40 inches for men indicates a high risk of many preventable disorders like diabetes, metabolic problems, cardiovascular problems, and a high amount of visceral fat, which is that dangerous metabolically active fat. So keeping track of waist circumference is a really easy way to assess where you're at globally. And my waist circumference was unhealthy when I started my GLP-1 journey and is healthy now. I don't anticipate that this will require a lot of attention on my part, because if I'm maintaining, then my waist is not changing. But I wanted to mention it here because it is a really easy, really worthwhile thing to track. And I do always glance at it when I do my scans just to make sure. As specific as waist circumference is, that's how vague this next one is. I kind of keep track of, do I feel on track? And this brings up my word of the year, consistency. It's like, do I feel like I'm being consistent? Do I feel on track? If there's any disruption in my life, whether it's a great disruption, like a friend is visiting from out of town, or an unfortunate one, like someone close to me is sick, those things can kind of throw me off track. And I want to pay attention to that, because those are the times when it's really easy to just kind of forget my habits and things that were automatic, I kind of forget about. This happened to me last year. I got into a habit of taking creatine every day, and then I didn't bring it with me on vacation. And when I got back from vacation, I forgot that creatine even existed. I forgot it was in my pantry. I forgot I was supposed to be taking it every day. And it was like weeks later that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be taking creatine. Going out of town tends to throw me off track. Things that keep me on track as much as I can be when I'm out of town are things like having an exercise plan. So packing the clothes that are appropriate for me to exercise wherever I'm going, looking into whether, like if I'm staying at a hotel, does it have a gym, packing some shelf-stable, healthy snacks, packing electrolytes and creatine so I can stay on track with those. Traveling isn't the only thing that can throw me off track. Pretty much any change to my routine is a time for me to stop and think about some easy, low effort ways to stay as consistent as possible. I tried to bring creatine with me on my last trip, and I didn't want to bring the whole big plastic container. So I measured it out into a baggie and I wrote creatine on the baggie with a Sharpie. I showed it to my husband and I was like, does this look like drugs? He was like, you cannot bring that on the plane. So I didn't. I bought a container of creatine when I was there. But anyway, roundabout way to tell you that I'm paying attention to kind of staying on track when it's harder. So yeah, these are the 7 things that I'm keeping track of. My weight, my body composition, my recovery, my strength, a couple of food-related things, protein and fiber, making sure my waist circumference stays healthy. That's effortless right now. And do I feel like I'm on track today? That's what I'm doing. I think it's enough. I think it's more than enough. Let me know in the comments what you like to track. Do you ever feel overwhelmed by it? Have you curated what you track the way that I'm trying to do? Reading and responding to comments is my favorite part of having this channel. So talk to me in the comments. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching to the end. If you want to know more about my first month on maintenance, watch this video next. See you next week. Bye.